Yeah, hi. I just wanted to
You can't
say,
hear, can't hear her.
can you hear me? I'm
Yes,
unmuted.
I
Yes.
can hear you.
Okay, right. So, I was a finalist and longlisted, but I just can't help to notice the lack of diversity in your winners. And I just think that that's really quite strange because all of them are sort of, white. Most of them are from America, and it's not just about me. I'm just saying I'm definitely sure they were good, you know,
Hmm.
black
Look,
and Asian writers
we
on the
understand
thing.
completely. We
Yeah.
understand
So the
completely.
lack of diversity is really wow, you know,
Yes, that's
you
that's a
know.
that's
Mm,
sad because our
mm.
judges we don't choose. It's our judges who choose. Our judges look at the writing. We've got lots of diversity in our judges, and we always encourage more diversity in our judges. We're always looking for more diversity in our judges, and we actually actively going out and saying to judges from all sorts of communities and all sorts of walks of life. We always saying, please come forward. Can you help us? Can you look at, take some time to read some of these writers' work? Because hopefully, then, if we see the diversity in the judges, we will see it coming down. But even so, even the judges that we do have, they actually look at all the work and they just judge it on the writing. They don't see the person, they don't see who the person is. They don't see where the person's background is. They don't see the person's culture. All they judge on is the quality of the writing. They just look at the story and the quality of the writing. They look at the storytelling and they look at the compelling characters. And that's really what they're judging on.
I
So
do. I
I
completely.
understand completely what you're saying, and we really would love to be able to. It's just if we could reach out to, wider communities. I mean, African communities, Asian communities, if we could reach out to all of the writers, and we know that there'd be so many talented writers out there, we just don't know how to reach out to those people. We don't know where to find them. We don't have massive budget of reaching out to all of these people to say, can you come forward and can you submit your stories? And we work with partners. We work with loads and loads of partners, and we ask our partners, please spread the message, put it out into the media that we're looking for stories from communities, from different cultures, and we just don't get the stories. And it would be wonderful if we do get the stories, but we just don't get the stories coming forward. I don't know why. We just don't get the stories. But if you could advise us and tell us how we could get those stories, how we can try and encourage more cultures to come forward, we will definitely take that up and look how we could encourage more diversity into our awards.
Okay, so some of us have been in this country for decades. So when we write, there's no way you can tell where I'm original from. So what
No.
I'm trying to say, no, there's no way because the writing is different and it's rooted into the culture here, etc. But I'm just so surprised that most writers who won your awards were from the US and, surely we have a lot in the UK, good
Oh no, there
writers,
was lots of
etc.
writers from the UK, lots and lots of writers from the
Is
Okay.
it
UK,
is it okay?
lots of
Sorry,
writers.
so
Sorry?
really sorry to interrupt. I really don't want to interrupt.
No, carry
So
on.
yeah, I think it's such a valid point. I think broadly that's just an issue in terms of diversity in writing in certain communities um, being underrepresented in writing. And I know that there's lots of initiatives as well to, for people with better reach to those communities to encourage that writing.
Yeah.
So I completely hear you, I understand you. And I think having a look at the broad makeup of the winners, yeah, sure, I would agree. But on the other hand, I would say that I'm ethnically Pakistani, British Pakistani. I think the lighting makes me probably look thinner than I am. But what when I was discussing my work, and one thing that was said about it and what was compelling about it was my story being rooted in that specific experience of culture and community and where you came from. And I believe that within this competition, and with Rebecca, who looked at my work, that is actually what stood out. So I suppose it's I hear what you're saying, but I suppose, like, yes, of course, considering maybe the number of categories, interestingly enough, like I think I had submitted my work to a competition that was for people from a minority background, but I didn't get selected there, but I got selected here. So I think there's so many things to take into consideration, right? When we look at these things. And I really applaud you. Like it is difficult to try to reach out to everyone. Like what you've done already is like such a massive competition and it's global. But yeah, thank you so much for that willingness and openness to say, please bring us the ideas. We would want to do that, because all stories are beautiful, and the
we do.
We all want that.
We've got a PR list, and we write to in the UK and across on the continent where we are. We write to Asian newspapers, we write to various African, right down from the top of Africa down to sort of Southern Africa, which is where I'm from. We write to Australia, because we love Australian films. We love Indian stories. We just love, Ken and I, when we're watching films and we're reading, we love culture. We love reading about different cultures. And because of that, we're always trying to encourage, we're always writing out to these newspapers. And it's really up to the newspapers, the communities, the different communities, that it's up to them to actually put it out. We can't we can't force them to put our news out and to say, here is these people from Page Turner Awards, and they are looking for these diverse stories. They are looking for stories from these different countries, because that's what we want. We don't want just standard, straight down the line, English stories. We want stories from across the countries. And it's lovely to see that we've got some writers who've won tonight, and it's not their first language, which that just makes me so proud that those writers are writing in a second language. And that's, Mariana Marcia Maidana. I mean, we had another writer a few years ago who was exactly the same. And she wouldn't say, and I can't say her name, she wouldn't tell anybody. She was actually, her native language was Italian, and she was a winner, and for a book that she put out in English. So that kind of thing we really encourage, and we really want to see more of. And if our writers would share it amongst their communities, then maybe we can spread the word around a little bit more, because we put out press releases to all the newspapers, to all the communities. We send it out to the big the big communities who are kind of newspapers as well as bloggers and that kind of thing. But then apart from that, it's very difficult if you don't have the budget to actually go and splash the money out to say, this is, we want these stories. So we just really hope and pray that a lot of these diverse, cultures come forward and say, well, I want to be part of Page Turner Awards because I see what Page Turner Awards are doing, and I'd like to be part of that. And we've got countries all across the world here tonight, and we've got winners across the world. So it's not just the USA. I think there's been a lot of USA people who've stayed, and that's possibly because it's sort of in the daytime. In the USA right now, we're in the evening, and the UK is in the evening, but in the USA it's daytime, so that probably looks like there's a lot of USA winners, but it's not that. It's our winners are across the board. Our winners are from all countries, and our judges don't pick them from countries. They don't pick them from cultures. Our judges don't see the person. They don't know who they are. That all they're doing is they're reading the story. They're reading the submission. They don't know anything more than that. Only here tonight we can start putting faces to stories, and we can see a little bit more about the people behind the story. And that's why one of the reasons Ken and I love about tonight is because we love seeing the people behind the stories, because all we've done the whole year is we've read words on a page, we've read your submissions. So it's very exciting for us to actually see the faces, to see everybody. But I mean, if anybody can suggest more ways of how we can try and spread the word and try and get more cultures and more diversity and more, more communities coming forward and adding these stories. We would love to know these stories and to hear these stories. Please tell us, and we will definitely do whatever ideas we are advised to do.
Can I make a point? Paula.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where I live, I work in an area and I work with writers of all ages, and not just white writers, but there are Jamaicans, Somalians, Arabics, all different nationalities who live within this area, and some will write. But you mention a competition, and they run a mile. Honestly, they want to write, and they'll write in a small group, and then you talk, well, we'll enter your story into competition. No, they don't. They have a fear sometimes of entering competitions. So it's not, as you said, it's not that you don't want them to join in. You do, but sometimes it's the personal fear of not wanting to join in. And now that can be just a personal fear. It can be a cultural thing. So you know, you're with all due respect, you're probably a very outgoing person, and you are confident in your writing. But there are a lot of people, even white people, who are not confident in their writing. And they like to write their own little stories, and they're happy writing their own little stories. So it's not that they're not being diverse. It's just that if the material isn't there, then they can't be. And as she said, if I put it out there and I say, look, enter the page turners. I've been doing that for 4.5 years now. Enter the page, and even though I'm not coming back next year because I've got other things, I will still be pushing enter the page turners, because I believe in this thing. I think it's a great thing, is this competition.
Mark has actually suggested that maybe we could have best African writer, best Asian writer. That's a brilliant idea, Mark.
See if that will help.
Region winners. So we can have various regions, and we could again, we really want to try and encourage people from different regions. We love reading these different stories. We love seeing these different there's just so many different cultural stories that really stand out, because cultural stories, especially, they're coming from truth and from reality. They're coming from people's lives, from humanity. And we love having those stories, and our judges love having those stories. So, if people came forward and entered those stories, and as you say, Anne, a lot of people, it takes a lot of courage to put your work out into some awards. So, if people could be more courageous, and the people that we've had tonight, and whoever's entered our awards are very courageous to put their words out, and we just hope that we do see lots more cultures coming forward.
On a personal level, just to say thank you so much, Paula and Ken, because you've been so kind to me. All the feedback I've got, and it's been really great. And my book is coming out in January, and I'm really excited. And you've been really, really helpful to me. I was just talking for the majority. That's all.
And also,
on a personal level, you've been so great. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's a pleasure. And if you've got any, if you've got any writing communities that you in, and if you're in book clubs and you've got some writers, do what Anne was saying earlier. Encourage them to enter their writing, and you must also tell them, this is the important thing, and I should have mentioned it earlier, is that they don't have to make it public. This is one thing about Page Turner Awards, which other awards, and I did this because I'm a writer myself. I'm a writer and a screenwriter, and I know how hard it is to put your work out there. So one of the things that we have is you can choose to make it public, or you can choose to make it only for judges. So if you choose to make it only for judges, nobody gets to see it except the judges. So nobody else will know that your work is there. And very often the writers actually say, can I see the other writer's work? And we say, that's what you see. What you see is what you see. If you don't see it, it means that they're keeping it private. And that's where the people who don't have the courage, or they just need a little nudge to put their work out there, they can actually choose only judges to see the work, because then they get feedback from the judges. They get feedback from the competition. So those are the kind of people, if you know anybody, if you've got anybody in your community, please tell them, we want to see lots of stories. We want to see, stories from all sorts of, all cultures right across the world. That's really, really what we're trying to strive for with Page Turner Awards.
I just want to, sorry, really quickly say I can't pronounce
Yes.
your name, but thank you so much to V for being, that was a really brave thing to do,
Absolutely.
towards the end in this space. It was a really brave thing to do, to actually speak out, and I think it was definitely done in the spirit of making things more interesting all around, making things obviously more diverse and representative and more interesting, because different stories ultimately are better and they're more interesting. And thank you also for just it's a difficult conversation, and really appreciate the kind of openness there and the willingness to well, what can we do, and really pushing for that, and some practical solutions at the end as well about the anonymity in entering. So yeah, it just makes me extra grateful for winning and for being part of this community and part of this space. So thanks everyone.
Thank
you. Pleasure.
Very much.